Hi everyone, it's Pastor Joseph coming to you today with Manuel's Spirit Lift, and we're on the second deed in Dorothy and Gabriel Thacker's Christian Basics. The first deed that's described in the Bible, Genesis 1 and 2, is creation. The second deed is the fall, described in Genesis 3, and then much more explicitly throughout the rest of the Bible. And it seems like the fall is the one chapter where Christianity gets put into a box where people either think you have to be one side or the other, that sin infects everything and we're horrible, miserable sinners, and that Christians are not fun people to be around. If anything's fattening or fun, then we're against it. On the other hand, some people are like, well, sin, that's passé, that's old language. We really should be advocating for the goodness of people, and we should really be advocating for how wonderful everyone is, and try and understand that perspective as well. I don't think the Bible has either of those two perspectives, actually. I think the Bible is much more supple than that. The Bible is much more creative than that. The Bible avoids a lot of questions, and I think it's a wise thing. The Bible deals with a story in Genesis chapter 3, as you'll remember, with Adam and Eve disobeying God in the Garden of Eden. They are tempted by the snake. They eat the fruit of the tree of which they are commanded not to eat, and they find that their relationship to God is irreparably harmed. That from that moment on, that closeness to God that they once had is gone. That closeness to each other that they had is gone. They now are exiled from the garden, and now they have to find a new way in the world. And if you look at the story in that perspective, I think it's very powerful, because we can all relate to the idea that life isn't fair, that things haven't gone the way that we should have thought that they would have gone. I can't explain to you, and the Bible doesn't try to explain to you, why it is that some people have a genetic predisposition for type 1 diabetes. Why is a 6, 7-year-old diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, juvenile diabetes? That seems to me like a sign of the fall, living in a fallen world. It's not the kid's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the way the world works. I don't know why some people, as they age genetically, they need these things. Why don't we all have 20/20 vision? That's something that I wish would happen, but it's not something that is part of our reality. And we all struggle with different things. We all struggle with different understandings of what it is that draws us closer to God versus further away from God. And the fall in Genesis chapter 3 attempts to say to us that there is no way for us to live this life, this human life, 100% protected from every evil, from every danger, from every toil and snare, as the hymn puts it, that into every life there is some sort of trouble. And we don't like to hear that, but it's the realistic view of life. John Calvin even said that even had Adam and Eve stayed in the garden, well, the snake was waiting for them there too. They couldn't protect themselves from the snake. They couldn't go into their hermitage, go into their hibernation mode, stay in the garden forever and avoid the temptations of the snake. That everything in life has some difficulty associated with it. You know, in this quarantine, I've been watching a few documentaries on television. There were two excellent ones on the other day. George Michael, the rock star from the 80s, and Prince, also from the 80s and 90s. There were documentaries about their lives, and these were two men who had everything. They had every fan in the world. They had money that you and I can only dream of. They had possibilities that were endless. They were able to get the heads of their record labels on the phone with a simple phone call. Millions of people watch them on television. Prince even performed at the Super Bowl halftime show. And the thing that really made me sad was George Michael's friends and Prince's friends said they were two of the most lonely people in the world. And that really struck me because that says something about how we are to deal with living in a fallen world. Sometimes we look out and we say, you know what, when I reach that destination, then I'll be happy. When I reach that destination over there, when I get the promotion, when I get out of this particular COVID-19 stay-at-home order, that's when I'll be happy. When I finally finish this project, I will be happy. But it's internal, really, isn't it? I think the Bible tells us that it's internal. That had Eve had more of a sense of self, more of a sense of being connected to God's Spirit, had Adam had more of a sense of himself, and a sense of being connected to God's Spirit, maybe the fall wouldn't have happened. But you and I know that's not realistic. You and I know that we have good days when we are all prepared and we are ready. We can take on the world and something happens where we're not too proud of ourselves. Or when you get to a certain age, you wake up in the morning and you are ready you have the world by the tail, and you are prepared for everything that's going to come at you. And you get into bed at night and you realize that your 50-year-old body can't do things that your 20-year-old body used to do. Those things are realities of living in a fallen world. And it's good to admit them. It's good to stick with them. It's good to remember that when we are in this time of uncertainty, that part of the uncertainty isn't from COVID-19. Part of the uncertainty isn't from political parties or church pastors. Part of the uncertainty is in here. Part of the uncertainty is knowing how many times I've let myself down. Knowing how many times that I thought I had the resources to do what needed to be done, and I didn't have the confidence in myself. Or the times that I was overconfident, that I was prideful, that I wasn't listening, that I was all ego. The second deed in the Christian story, according to Christian Basics, is the fall. And I would encourage you to go and read that Genesis chapter 3 and throw away most of the questions that you've ever read about it, most of the things that you would bring up. Where'd the snake come from? What's a talking snake doing in the story? But just sit with the story. Have you ever acted like Eve? Have you ever acted like Adam? I think I know the answer. And I think the rest of the Bible pulls out that answer. The Bible is certainly a book full of stories of people who are imperfect and who are confronted with imperfect situations. A fallen world. So whether it's natural evil like earthquakes and floods, COVID-19 and troubles, or if it's our own fallen nature, confusion, hatred, jealousy, anger, misplaced devotion, lust. It's all there. It's all there. It's an important part of the Christian story. And as we move further down the road, as we move into the next deeds and into the next events that are described in our scriptures, you'll find that the Bible is realistic in how we are to live and who we are. All right, that's my reflection for today. I invite you to reflect on Genesis chapter 3. This will be a great chapter to do your Lectio Divina on, your holy reading. This will be a fantastic chapter to open up and just sit and pray with and hear what God is saying to you. This might be a good time for you to do that. All right. Thank you for being with me today. Blessings to you all. Thanks for supporting the ministry of Emmanuel Reformed Church. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We're still here. We rely on your support, and we are really grateful that you trust us. And we look forward to working with you in any sincere and honest way that we can. All right. Thanks for helping us spread the good news, and we'll talk to you soon. Blessings, everybody. Love you and miss you. Bye.